David Starkey was on Triggonometry recently, and as usual, his diagnosis of the problems of the British state was very good. A diagnosis is a process of identifying a disease, condition, or problem by examining its signs and symptoms. Quite rightly, he observes that the current constitutional changes made by the Blair government have been absolutely disastrous. He pointed out that a third of the British state's expenditure now goes via unaccountable quangos. He pointed out that the judges rather than the market now determine wages, and this has bankrupted Birmingham City Council. He pointed out that judges rather than the energy secretary now determine whether it's permissible to frack for gas or drill for oil in the North Sea. He noted the Roman principle of let justice be done though the heavens fall, fiat justitia ruet caelum. This phrase was first used by Lord Mansfield in the 1772 Somerset versus Stuart case, where he ruled to free an enslaved man in England despite massive political and economic pushback. Today we have law but no budgets. Judges don't care what something costs, they simply say this is the law and you must do it. Consequently, we have a £100 million bat tunnel for HS2, which will protect about 300 rare bats. He pointed out the new Labour project is finally and obviously failing. Blair and Mandelson started it, Cameron and Johnson continued it, and now Starmer is seeing it finally expire. And he was quite right too that Andy Burnham was never really a Blairite. He'll try a reheated version of already failed 1970s socialism. Even Neil Kinnock realised this was a bad idea. Andy thinks it's okay because it seemed to work in Manchester, and because it worked in Manchester, it'll work in the UK. But Manchester simply hoovered up money from the rest of the country. It simply can't work on a national scale, and I think we're going to have to learn that the hard way. When Burnham takes over, he will be the 7th Prime Minister in 10 years. I used to laugh at Italy, but now he seems to be following their lead. In summary, he's saying the state seems to hate the British people. I think this is right. George Orwell, another Blair, oddly enough, made a very similar observation in the 1940s. So he's right, the left is in disarray and it will only get worse, but his prescription is ludicrous. He's calling for a grand coalition of the right, and this is deluded. Firstly, to imagine the Conservative Party is right-wing these days is simply to misunderstand the essential nature of what the party has become. Neither Edward Heath, nor Rishi Sunak, nor Michael Heseltine would have the slightest problem with a modern Conservative Party. That alone should show you they're hardly right-wing. I'm not saying there aren't right-wingers in the party. Suella Braverman's heart seemed to be in the right place, although when Sunak blocked her reforms, she clearly should have resigned, but didn't. Well, what about Nigel and his chums in Reform? While a great many voters desperately want Reform to be something, they clearly aren't that thing. They imagine them to be a right-wing party. They imagine they'll do things like immigration, law and order, the size of the state. But they couldn't be more wrong. Much as the British state hates the British people, the people who run Reform hate their own members. It seems to me to be an abusive relationship. I would ask Reform supporters in all good conscience, because I know you're good people, is Nadeem Zahawi what you signed up for? The vaccines minister? Is Robert Jenrick what you signed up for? The man who imported Afghans by the tens of thousands? Is this really what you signed up for? The right in British politics is represented by one party and one party only, Restore Britain. I know it's comforting to imagine we could have some grand coalition. Sounds like an easy solution, an easy win, but it's bloody stupid. The Tory party failed and lied 4 times. Every election from 2010 onward, they said they would cut immigration. Every administration not only failed to do so, but increased it. Sunak was standing in front of the lectern with that stupid stop the boats thing on it, while actually blocking Suella Braverman from doing anything about it. Do you really think Priti Patel is going to tackle Indian immigration? Do you really think Kemi Badenoch will put a moratorium on immigration from Nigeria? Do you think Nadeem Zahawi will block Iraqi immigration? Do you really think Mohammed Zia Yusuf will close the doors to Sri Lankans? It's comforting to imagine we could join a vast right-wing coalition. Comforting but deluded. We're the only game in town. That's the harsh reality. It won't be easy. We'll have the full weight of the establishment turned against us. We'll have no other choice, though, because we did enter some electoral coalition in 2029. The Tory Wets in the Conservative Party and the Tory Wets in Reform UK would just freeze us out, and any Restore ministers would be effectively sidelined. It would be the last mistake we'd ever make. We're on our own. That's a harsh truth. Let's accept it. Better a harsh truth than a comforting lie. If you're watching this, you are the resistance, so please like, recommend, and subscribe.